So this is CJ Baker, and this is the ongoing history of protest music. So not that long ago, I posted a list of the 100 best protest songs of all time on my website, ongoing history of protest songs.com. And I also made a video discussing 25 of those songs. So I figure I might as well do decade specific list as well. So to begin with, we'll start with the 60s, which is widely viewed as the golden age of protest music. And also, in connection with that, 21 of the top 100 were from this decade. So to check out the complete list and the criteria I used, once again, you can check out the website, ongoing history of protest songs.com. So for the list, I decided to limit it to 3 songs per artist. But also, for the sake of this video, I decided for the top 25 to limit it to 1 song per artist. So because of that, the top 25 in the video is going to be slightly different than the top 25 list on the website, because some artists had more than 1 song in the top 25. But we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into the list. So we got number 25, The Ballad of Ira Hayes by Johnny Cash from 1964. So this Peter Lafarge protest ballad appears on Cash's 1964 concept album, Bitter Tears, Ballads of the American Indian. Ira Hayes was a Native American of the Pima tribe. He was one of 6 Marines who raised the flag at the World War II Battle of Iwo Jima. Instead of being treated as a war hero, he returned home as a victim of discrimination, and as the lyrics point out, a victim of the right man's greed. So the next song, song 24, We Gotta Get Out of This Place by the Animals from 1965. So this powerful anthem was penned by Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, and it was inspired by the struggles faced by young people during the 1960s. The lyrics express a sense of entrapment and a desire for a better life, capturing the feelings of disillusionment that was prevalent during that era, especially among those affected by political and social upheavals. So even though it wasn't the songwriter's original intent, the track ended up becoming an anthem for many soldiers during the Vietnam War who re-identified with its themes of seeking liberation. And yes, you could understand why they would say to themselves, we got to get out of this place. So the next song, number 23, Alabama by John Coltrane from 1963. So when looking at the historical development of music, you can't divorce the music from the political climate. An example of this is the music created by Black jazz musicians whose work was inevitably shaped by the civil rights movement. That was the case with the legendary John Coltrane. So this haunting song from his classic album, Live at Birdland, was composed in response to the 4 children who were killed by white supremacists in the 16th Street Baptist church bombing that took place on September 23rd, 1963. So even without vocals and lyrics, you can sense the real pain. So song 22, Compared to What, by Les McCann and Hetty Harris from 1969. So Compared to What was composed by Eugene McDaniels in 1966, but it was first recorded and released by Roberta Flack on her 1969 debut album, First Take. And I really do love Flack's version as well. That's worth checking out. But the song gained popularity when it was recorded by McCann and Hetty Harris for their live album, Swiss Movement. And the lyrics, it critiques social issues and the disillusionment of the American dream. We reflected the tumultuous political climate of the era, which included the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement. So the song's catchy melody is juxtaposed with its thought-provoking lyrics. So this makes it both accessible and profound. So song 21 is the Star Spangled Banner by Jimi Hendrix. So one of the more iconic performances of the original Woodstock Festival was Jimi Hendrix's rendition of the US national anthem. So even before the Woodstock performance, which was immortalized in the 1970 documentary, it was a staple of Hendrix concerts from 1968 right up until his death on September 18th, 1970, at the age of 27. So Hendrix was able to skillfully manipulate the guitar to simulate the sound of machine guns, bombs, and rockets. So he basically transformed the patriotic song into a powerful statement of protest that resonated in the wake of the Vietnam War. So we got song number 20, Blackbird by the Beatles from 1968. So this gorgeous tune from the Right album was written by Paul McCartney in support of the US civil rights movement during the 60s. So part of the motivation was the Little Rock Nine, who were 9 black girls who in 1957 were enrolled in the newly desegregated Little Rock Central High School. So in an interview with Apple Music, McCartney explained why he chose to use Blackbird as a metaphor for a black girl instead of being more direct. So this is what McCartney says. I use metaphors so that on the one hand, if you're a little kid, a lot of little kids say to me that Blackbird is the favorite song. So if you're a little kid, they don't know about civil rights. They're seeing a blackbird and the freedom, and they're feeling the idea of just escaping burials and stuff. They just like it as a little song. It's not hiding it, it's just using a metaphor. I sometimes think that's stronger. Also, Beyonce performed a powerful version of the tune on her 2024 album, Cowboy Carter. So the next song So we got the Beatles, so appropriately, we now got the Rolling Stones. So song 19, Give Me Shelter by the Rolling Stones, released in 1969. So similar to one of their other tunes, Street Fighting Man, this powerful anthem encapsulates the tumultuous spirit of the late 1960s in the wake of the Vietnam War. So this song's from the band's classic album, Let It Bleed. And the lyrics reflect the uncertainty and the chaos of that era. And it touches on themes of social upheaval and the search for refuge amidst the turmoil. And of course, one of the most striking features of the song is the powerful background vocals by Mary Clayton. So her passionate performance, it adds an extra layer of intensity to the overall emotional impact. And I think you could actually make an argument. I would make this argument. This is probably the best background vocal performance in the history of rock music, or maybe in the history of music, period. So, yes, her powerful wails during the chorus have become iconic, and it really helped elevate the song's message. And a message that is really still relevant. Like, even right now, in the current political climate, there's still that need to seek refuge or shelter. So, song number 18, we got Give Peace a Chance by the Plastic Ono Band from 1969. So, this was composed by John Lennon and recorded during his and Yoko Ono's Bedding for Peace in Montreal. So, the song quickly became a rallying cry for the anti war movement, particularly in opposition to the Vietnam War. So its memorable refrain of all we are saying is give peace a chance. It re echoes the simple yet profound desire for harmony and understanding in a world fraught with conflict. And also the chant like lyrics make it effective for inviting participation during the protest rallies. So we'll now get to song 17, It Isn't Nice, by Barbara Dane and the Chamber Brothers, released in 1966. So this tune is from the album Barbara Dane and the Chamber Brothers, which is a powerful collection of politically charged gospel tunes released in the thick of the civil rights movement. And the album was also significant for giving a platform to the Chamber Brothers, who would become an influential psychedelic soul band who's best known for the 1967 hit Time Is Come Today. So this song, composed by Melvina Reynolds, discusses the necessity of acts of defiance in bringing about change. And our acts of protest aren't necessarily supposed to make people feel comfortable. And there's also a lyric which currently resonates in a different context than what it was probably originally intended. So one of the lyrics that just stood out to me, it's now our new ways aren't nice when we deal with men of ice. So obviously, this probably wasn't referring to ICE agents and speaking directly of what's going on in terms of the current American immigration policy, but that line does resonate in that context. So it does give an added layer to add to the song's modern relevance. So concerning Barbara Dane, She really is an unsung figure in the history of protest music. And she really earned praise from artists such as Bob Dylan, who wrote an open letter to Broadside magazine in 1964 saying this of Dane. So this is what Dylan says. We need more kind of people like that. People that can't go against their conscience, no matter what they might gain. And I've come to think that might be the most important thing in the whole wide world. And Dane also ended up being influential due to the protest music record label Paradigm, which she started with her husband, Ivan Sherber. So for Dane, the music really was an extension of her activism. If anything, the activism seemed to come first, but the music was a tool that she used. So number 16, Little Boxes by Malvina Reynolds, who we noted also composed the previous song, It Isn't Nice. So Little Boxes is an anti-conformist anthem composed by singer-songwriter and political activist Malvina Reynolds, who she wrote the song in 1962. So the satirical tune critiques suburban housing development and middle class conformity. It also popularized the term ticky tacky. So the song ended up receiving widespread attention when it was used as the theme song for the dark dramedy TV show Weeds. It really was an appropriate theme for the show that delved into themes of conformity and consumerism. So the tune was first recorded in 63 by Reynolds' friend, the influential folk singer and activist Pete Seeger. And of course, Seeger played an important role in introducing a lot of folk songs into popular culture. So this song really did become one of Seeger's signature tunes. But Reynolds ended up releasing her own version for a 1967 album, Malvina Reynolds Sings the Truth. So we now got song 15, You Don't Own Me by Leslie Gore from 1963. So it's 17 years old at the time of recording. You Don't Own Me has become a powerful anthem of the burgeoning second wave feminist movement that started in the late 60s. It even continued beyond that. It's still considered an anthem of female empowerment. But really, it goes beyond women's empowerment. The song resonates with anyone who has had to fight for their individuality and self respect. So when individuals try to oppress you, there's nothing more powerful than to respond to them, you don't own me. So we now got song 14 by Sly and the Family Stone, Don't Call Me the N-Word, Righty, from 1969. So from the classic album Stand, this tune by the pioneering interracial funk band is one of the most confrontational and controversial protest songs of all time. With its edgy title, the song confronts the derogatory language and stereotypes that permeates American culture, recalling for dignity and respect. Sly Stone's incisive lyrics and the band's infectious energy engage listeners in a broader dialogue about identity and the struggle against systemic racism. So we now got song 13, Vietnam by Jimmy Cliff. So this song was proclaimed by Bob Dylan as the greatest protest song ever. And whether or not that's true is obviously up for debate, but the song is a powerful tune that reflects the turmoil and chaos of the Vietnam era. The lyrics relate a letter from his friend who was a soldier in Vietnam. And the lyrics well express the disillusionment of the time. The song well articulates a generation grappling with the senselessness of the conflict. So we now got song number 12, The Fist Cheer, I Feel Like I'm Fixin' to Die by Country Joe McDonald. So this anti-Vietnam protest tune is an important anthem of the hippie counterculture movement. So it was initially recorded as the title track for the 1967 album, I Feel Like I'm Fixin' to Die by Country Joe and the Fish. But an even more powerful version of this is an impromptu Country Joe solo acoustic performance that took part at Woodstock 69. And this is especially highlighted during the 1970 documentary, which added a sing-along bouncing ball for additional impact. But this really helped make it a powerful anti-war anthem. So we now got song number 11, Freedom Highway by the Staple Singers. So this is the title track of the gospel group's 1965 live album. Pop Staples wrote the tune about the Selma Freedom Marches in March of 1965. The song also references the murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till, who was lynched on August 28, 1955, in the Tallahatchie River in Mississippi. So the song has become an enduring standard of the civil rights movement. So song number 10, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, James Brown. So this is an example of how the most effective protest anthems are at times the most direct. It is also helpful when the lyrics feature a chant that can be chanted at rallies. So this Black empowerment funk classic by the Godfather of Soul features a call and response of a children's chorus that is both joyful and powerful. So song number 9, Eve of Destruction, Barry Maguire, 1965. So this appears on Maguire's album of the same name. And this modern day protest standard was written by 19-year-old P.F. Sloan. So the tune warns of a pending apocalypse if things don't change. But along with the strong anti-war sentiment, it addresses several other social issues as well, such as civil rights. Also, an important lyric is, you're old enough to kill, but not for voting, which refers to the fact that the US voting age was 21, while the minimum draft age was 18. But the voting age was lowered to 18 in 1971. So that lyric resonated because at the time, Sloan was unable to vote. And this also highlights how the youth have always played an important role in social changes. So, song number 8, Love Me, I'm a Liberal by Phil Oakes from 1966. So, this tune is an all time great political satire exposing the hypocrisy and passiveness of mainstream liberalism. So, introducing the song, Oakes states that liberals are 10 degrees to the left of center in good times, 10 degrees to the right of center if it affects them personally. So, the not in my backyard mentality is expressed throughout the song. Like, for example, you got the provocative lyric, I love Puerto Ricans and Negroes as long as they don't move next door. And there's the lyric, but if you ask me to bust my children, I hope the cops take down your name. So even though some of the concerns may have been period specific, the attitude of lip service activism, it really hasn't changed. So the song still resonates. So we now got song number 7, People Get Ready by the Impressions from 1965. So you could argue that this Curtis Mayfield pen tune, it's more of a gospel song than a direct protest song, but there's no denying that it became an anthem of the civil rights movement. And the lyrics also perfectly encapsulates the church roots of the movement. So it's a galvanizing tune that still holds out hope for positive change. And then we got song number 6, For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. So this was written by Stephen Stills in connection with the 1966 Sunset Strip curfew riots. And the lyrics conveyed the generation gap and the efforts to oppress those who do not conform to societal norms. The lyrics ended up having an even greater impact when they were adopted by the anti war movement. So the song became an universal anthem of human rights that expanded beyond eras, demographics, and specific movements. So we now got song number 5, Respect by Aretha Franklin from 1967. So the tune was written and first recorded by Otis Redding, but Aretha's powerful version flipped the gender wars and transformed it into an anthem of female empowerment. So even though there still may have been an element of looking for respect in the bedroom, the message took on a much broader scope. Also, in contrast with Otis' version, the demand for respect wasn't about wielding power over someone. Instead, in Aretha's version, it was about demanding equality. And Aretha also made a few modifications to the song, which further helped elevate it to a timeless civil rights anthem. And the most notable addition was the RESPECT, find out what it means to me. So that made it an anthem of female empowerment. And really, it could be an anthem for any marginalized group that desires respect and equality. And it also should be noted that just with the vocals of Riva, we could transform any song into an anthem. And also another shameless plug on my website, Ongoing History of Protest Songs.com. I also have a list of Aretha Franklin protest songs that you can check out as well. So we now got song number 4, Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival from 1969. So CCR's lead singer, John Fogerty, composed this classic tune in response to Nepo babies who never would have to worry about being drafted. So in a Rolling Stone magazine interview, John Fogerty stated, Julie Nixon was hanging around with David Eisenhower, and you just had the feeling that none of these people were going to be involved with the war. In 1969, the majority of the country thought morale was great among the troops, and like 80% of them were in favor of the war. But to some of us who were watching closely, we just knew we were headed for trouble. Also, this timeless anti-war message, it transcends beyond the Vietnam era. It also, beyond the war, it makes evergreen statements about elitism, and it's a rallying cry for the 99%. So we now got song number 3, Mississippi Goddamn by Nina Simone from 1964. So this was Simone's response to the murder of Medgar Evers in Mississippi and a bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama on September 15th, 1963. And this song may have been a most direct protest tune, and it was really the beginning of a period where Simone was starting to become more political with her music. So appearing on the album, Nina Simone in concert, it was released as a single, but it was banned in most of the South. So it was considered controversial partly because people don't like being told that they're racist. So in the lyrics, Simone discusses the importance of taking direct action to achieve lasting progress. And she also pointedly references the white moderates that promote slow moving, incremental changes. So this is addressed in the lyrics. Do things gradually, too slow, but bring more tragedy, too slow. Why don't you see it? You don't have to live next to me. Just give me my equality. So this too became a notable civil rights anthem. And on March 24th, 1965, Simone performed the song in front of 10,000 people towards the conclusion of the Selma to Montgomery marches. So we now got song number 2, Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan from 1963. And it's hard to choose one definitive Bob Dylan song because in the 60s, he wrote so many classic protest songs. So it's impossible to come up with a consensus pick. And you can feel free to let me know in the comments if you think I picked the right Bob Dylan song. So what's your favorite Bob Dylan protest song from the 60s? But you could argue that this song has become his most enduring standard, and it is definitely his most often covered. So interestingly, Dylan cited the traditional anti-slavery tune No More Auction Block, which was popularized by Paul Robeson as an inspiration. And through a series of pertinent questions, Dylan clearly highlights why racism is wrong, and he clearly identifies himself as an ally. And also, the song inspired Sam Cooke to write A Change is Gonna Come. So, right there, that's a pretty significant legacy. And concerning A Change is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke, that takes us to song number one. And as we just mentioned, it's A Change is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke from 1964. So after listening to Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind, Cooke was inspired to compose one of the most important songs ever penned. Cooke felt that if a white man was able to articulate the struggles of Black people, then someone who goes through those daily struggles should be able to. And he did. Cooke articulates those struggles beautifully. And connection to those personal struggles, in October 8, 1963, Cooke, he was already successful commercially. He was refused a room at a Holiday Inn in Louisiana, despite making reservations ahead of time. So Cooke was arrested for disturbing the peace as a result of protesting the racist treatment that he received. So this was just one example of the mistreatment that Cooke experienced as a result of Jim Crow laws. And this also well illustrates that being famous did not shield Black people from the negative effects of bigotry. So, along with tapping into his own experiences of dealing with racism, he also returned to the gospel roots to record a moving anthem of hope. And tragically, Cooke died on December 11th, 1964, prior to the song being released as a B-side to the single Shake. So the tune was only a modest hit at the time, but shortly after, it became widely associated with the civil rights movement. And sadly, it continues to remain relevant. So that concludes the list. So what did you think about the list? Feel free to protest the list in your comments. Let me know, what are your favorite songs or favorite protest songs of the 60s? If you want me to keep making content like this, please like and subscribe. Also, feel free to check out my website, Ongoing History of Protest Songs.com. And as already mentioned, you can check out the entire list on that website. And you can also check out my list of the 100 best protest songs of all time. And I also plan on making lists of subsequent decades as well. So I have the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, maybe even the 2020s so far. And I might even go back and make a list of the important protest songs recorded prior to the 1960s. So thanks for watching, and please stay safe.
Whoopee, welcome to Jack.